we are standing today because we are talking about a book book series that I am very passionate about, and so I need to move and use my hands and all the things. So without further ado, we're going to be reviewing The Foxhole Court, or as the series in general is called, All for the Game by Nora Sakovic. First, I'm going to preface this whole video by saying trigger warning to a very, not extreme extent, but just be very careful about this, because I know I'm somebody who, I struggle sometimes with mental health and emotional health, and while I have a really good support system and I'm totally fine for the most of the part, reading this series was very difficult. My friend Nicole Caswell, she said it's kind of like a hurt comfort fic if you're using fanfiction terms, and that is very true. So it is something that's gonna tear you down and you are going to cry multiple times, but you are gonna fall in love with the characters, and by the end you'll be okay. But it's one of those series where you need to get all the books and just read them. Let's talk about each of the books. So we have Foxhole Court, which is gorgeous. I also really like this because my favorite color is orange, and so they're all orange, and I'm just like, oh, perfect. So this is the cover for the Foxhole Court. Then we have the Raven King, ba 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 ba, and then lastly, the King's Men. So they get bigger as it goes on, which is nice because by the last one, we just need so much stuff to be dealt with that we're just like, we need more. There's gonna be a spoiler part of this video and a non-spoiler part because I just need to talk about these things because it's really intense. Kind of an overview for those people who don't know what this is. They're like, okay, this is great. I have no idea what this is. One reason why I know is it wasn't actually published until very recently, and this was a self-published book. So it was previously published by the author, and she eventually created books that were released, I want to say a month or so ago. The story follows this boy named Neil Johnson, Johnson, I forget, and he lives in a world where there's a sport called Xe, and it's kind of I can't talk. It's a split between lacrosse, soccer, and wall ball, or the when you're in the court. Basically, you're within a court with walls, and you have sticks that are kind of like lacrosse sticks, and you are trying to get the ball from one goal to the other, and kind of the gist. It's a sport. So Neil is a bit different than most kids because his family isn't exactly the nicest, as I'm gonna call it, and he's been on the run with his mom for the majority of his life until his mom passes away, and he kind of has to survive by himself. So where we start the book is with him, small town, and he started playing Xe again. And something that his mom was very adamant about throughout his lifetime is don't play Xe. And he's like, are you kidding me? This is the best thing ever. So he gets picked up by a Class 1 division school called the Foxes. They're from Palomino State University. Except there's a catch because they are known as the worst team in the Class 1 division. And the coach is kind of known for taking up stragglers and people who don't really have a cohesive family, to say the least. So he gets picked up, and his first thing is like, are you kidding me? That goes against everything my mom taught me to don't get noticed. But of course he does it, and it kind of follows his story as he goes through this, which is emotionally filled, and it's great because there's a really big array of characters. There's some great representation of LGBT characters. There's two confirmed gay people, and then there is what is speculated as a demisexual, which is supported by the author Nora. And there's female and male players. The characters are complex, and they're thought out, and they're just so good. So the teammates that he gets are Nikki, he gets Aaron and Andrew, and those are kind of a family. Aaron and Andrew are twins. Nikki is their cousin. Then there's Matt, Seth, Renee, who's oh my gosh, she's so cute. Oh, also Renee and Nikki are the cutest, most adorable, nicest people you will ever meet. Oh my goodness. And then there's Dan, there is Allison, and then Neil and Kevin. And so that is the team of the Foxes. And oh boy, it is something I highly recommend. I read this, and I'm so grateful I read this, but it did take a toll on me a little bit. So it's something I just highly recommend. And now I'm gonna switch into spoilers because I just need to talk about things. So you can get this on Kindle or Amazon Books. The first one is free, the second two are $1, but then if you wanted to get a physical copy, They're also online, but I'll leave links in the description box below so you can find it and just fall in love, and also follow all the Tumblrs, because oh my goodness, you need that in your life. Okay, so time for spoilers. First off, oh my gosh, Neil and Andrew. So I love the fact that they have the like I hate you, and like the percentage of like, oh no, I don't actually like you is equal to their I love you. And that is just the cutest thing. And also I really like the fact that they both really acknowledge the fact that they're not the strongest, well, they're really strong actually, they're like ridiculously strong, but they acknowledge, because they've been through so much together, and like their relationship started from like, oh my god, like you're awful, to like that it's a supportive relationship, and it's not one that they're like really foofy about, but it's a strong one, and I would not doubt if they stay together forever. OTP, yes please. And I just think it's really important the fact that they can rely on each other, and it's just really supportive, as I keep saying, because it's really important for them in their lives. We start off where we're meeting the whole team, and we're kind of getting the gist of it, and I was really good because I enjoyed it, and I knew I was gonna enjoy the later ones by the end of the book. Like it was a really good, not standalone book, because I mean you gotta know what happens later, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and then I got hooked once we started this. Also, I just broke. I'm so happy and so sad at the same time. I was emotionally shattered and filled with so much hope, and oh my goodness. So the Raven King is when we have Andrew, I think it's the end, we have him going off to the Raven's Nest, and Andrew is going through withdrawal, or he's going through therapy, and how is that gonna happen? And we have like the problem with Luther and Drake, and all the things just happen in here, and we're just like but it's good because it brings everybody together. We start and we're like, okay, we can do this, and it's such a nice underdog, like, haha, suck it Ravens, because you guys are blanks who I don't like at all. But luckily Rico doesn't really make it through the book. That's something really interesting, because I kind of want to know like the whole mob deal, like the whole family setup, because like I understand that Rico wasn't important, but just like kind of like the whole setup, how you can't see your brothers, and like how Kevin plays into all of this, and it's so complex and so good. And the fact that he is now indebted, or he's not indebted, but he is to a sense with the family, kind of is like, okay, but what happens when you retire from an XE player? I mean, of course you'll still have money that you can pay them off, but it's just kind of like, ooh, this could catch you. But I'm so glad by the end, like Andrew and Kevin and Neil are all just like, yes. And also the fact that Neil is now like a legitimate person. He has social security, he has all this stuff, and so he can survive, and I'm just like, yay, oh my goodness, I'm so happy for you. So that was such a relief by the end of this book. But this book took me on so many roller coasters. So the King's Men, we don't introduce, but like we have the fact that now his father's coming after him. And when his father's introduced, and Lola, she has like the little cigarette thing and is burning him, especially with the tattoo. Also, when Kevin takes off the tattoo, oh my goodness. I really hope that Jean does that too. Do you guys say John or Jean? Because I say Jean, and I might be wrong, but that's my personal thing. Okay, let's talk about Rico, because actually, Rico and Drake. So where my emotions broke down completely was when we were introduced to Drake, and it's like we kind of knew who Drake was, and then when Neil and Aaron walk in, and oh my goodness, I had to put the book down, and I was just kind of like so emotionally just wrecked, and I had to read through it, and I was like, oh my god, Andrew, I can't do this to you. And so that was so hard to read. Like, oh my goodness, I was having just a mental breakdown. And then the second one, actually, well, my three breakdowns was the introduction of Drake, then when he had to go to the Raven's Nest, and they just talked about all the stuff that they did I was just so like, oh my god, my baby, no, no, no. And then the last one was when Lola picked him up and was torturing him in the car. Oh my goodness. And they're like, oh, we're gonna cut your tendons so you can't run. I was like, no, you can't do that. Like, he has to come back and he has to have XE. And so that was just like a huge roller coaster. I just knew it was one of those things where I just had to read it and kind of just deal with the fact and just, oh my goodness. So luckily, Uncle comes in and rescues, but those were the times where I was just, I cannot deal with Luther and I cannot deal with Drake or Rico. Rico is one of the most vile people that I just want to punch him in the face, and just, him and Drake and, oh my god. Whew, those men are awful. It's dreadful. And I'm so glad that Jean and Renee, they don't become a thing, but like they support each other. At least Renee is supporting Jean, and like he's with the new team, and that makes me so happy because after playing them and them being really gracious, I was like, okay, he's gonna do okay. He's gonna be okay in the end, and that's what we want, honestly, because that poor boy, they're all our babies. They're all of our babies. Like with Nikki when he came home, and with his family, I was just like, oh my goodness. And oh, poof. I also kind of want to know why Dan was so, like we kind of touched on it in the books, why Dan was so furious about Kevin not telling who his father was and like kind of just like revealing it, because I guess she does see him as a father figure, so I want to like reread this, which is gonna break me again, but it's totally fine, because I kind of want to know. And also Seth. Let's talk about Seth. I feel really bad, but I'm kind of happy he died, and I feel awful that way, but that's what connected the team. And with Allison, I want to know like what she does. Actually, I just want to know like the backstories of Matt and Allison, because we touched on Dan a little bit, but we don't know about them because like they have families that are supportive-ish, but like how did they get into all this? Because I don't know. And I also really want to know about the new team with the person that Neil is like, ooh, I kind of want to put you here. So like, what is going on there? So now I'm just gonna go and read all the fan fiction and go through her Tumblr, Cliffy Nora's Tumblr, and just read all the extra material. Because, you know, I'm not emotionally scarred enough. Like, you gotta get more. This is what we put ourselves through. And if you are as emotionally invested, I guess that's a good word, invested as I am, please let me know, and just like, we gotta talk about these things. Message me on Tumblr, link below, and all the stuff, or just put in the comments and we can start a big conversation, because yeah. Okay, bye guys, I'll see you next week.